everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann. This is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you all for tuning in. This is part 4 of our weekly mini-series for the College Gridiron Showcase. That's right, CGS All-Star is the handle at Twitter and on Facebook. Give them a like, give them a follow, because we will be there January 5th through the 9th to see all the new young talent. The seniors of the College Gridiron are going to be showcasing their skills in front of scouts and trainers and coaches alike from the NFL, the CFL, the AAF, and probably even the XFL. And then, of course, day 1, there is a free agent event happening. I cannot stress this enough. If you are a free agent, if you do not have a team to call your own, if you do not have a city to call your home, you need to go and attend the free agent event at the College Gridiron Showcase. There will be seminars, drills, one-on-one training, information, knowledge. There will be scouts that will tell you what the scouts are looking for when it comes draft time. So if you're a free agent, why not, if you've exhausted all other options, what's one more? And if you're a senior in college and you think maybe that you didn't get the best platform to showcase your skills, maybe your college, your school wasn't one that was on ESPN3 all that much, maybe it was only on local television or not television at all, this is an event for you. We've already seen several names that have been confirmed. Some of the top quarterbacks from college football will be in attendance. But today we do have another great segment for you, another great episode as we continue these. We are less than a month, 29 days away from when we will begin our coverage of the College Gridiron Showcase, and I cannot wait to be down in Fort Worth, Texas for the festivities. Now, Neil Stratton, who deals with scout and agent relations when it comes to the College Gridiron Showcase, was kind enough to stop by and drop some knowledge. And his perspective is sort of a third party watching this whole thing come together. And don't forget, all episodes are brought to you by KT Tape. They're that thing, that tape. What's so great about tape? Well, you heard Ed Terrace talk all about it on the last edition, part 3 of our mini-series, and it's basically if you want to heal faster, if you want to be better and get back onto the track, the field, the diamond, or the court sooner, KT Tape is what you need. Athletes all over the world use KT Tape, including Tom Brady. Oops, did I drop something there? That's right, the name. Tom Brady had it on his thumb. Players have it on their shoulders, knees, quads, ankles, shins. I already said shoulders, forearms. But this is the tape that you need if you want to prolong your career, if you want to have longevity, if you want to make sure that you are healing as fast as you can, the best way that you can. KT Tape is going to help you along the way, and they will be present down at the College Gridiron Showcase. So without further ado, any more delay, here is Neil Stratton on this week's edition of College Gridiron Showcase mini-series. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is Neil Stratton inside the league for the College Gridiron Showcase, the agent and scout relations. Neil, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing very, Richard. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, when this airs, it's going to be the just under the 30-day mark, so less than a month out from the 5th annual College Gridiron Showcase. This one, of course, including the free agent event. So I know that Jose, when he mentioned having you on, it seemed like it was something that at this point in time, how far we are from the event, what all the event is going to have, that you are a person probably just as busy as Jose and Craig, or possibly busier. So what is it like to be a month out for you and what you do from the CGS?
Well, in my role with Inside the League, Inside the League is kind of a consulting service to the football industry, and we work with people that kind of run the gamut in football: trainers, agents, of course, scouts, some coaches, parents and players themselves, everyone who's kind of got their toe in the industry. And so December is a big decision-making time for people in the industry. Number one, if you're a player finishing up, you're trying to choose an agent, you're trying to choose a training facility. If you're a scout, you're coming to the end of the season, you're kind of starting to set your board for the coming draft and starting to look at, what that's going to look like and how that's going to work. If you're a trainer, you're about a month out from the very busiest time of the year. If you're in combine prep, because the first Monday of January is kind of when everything gets started. So everyone has a heavy investment in this time of year, and certainly, and then I guess against that backdrop is the College Gridiron Showcase, which is, as you mentioned, about 30 days away. And it's one of the 5, I would call major all-star games that will take place in January that really do consistently attract NFL scouts. I'm sure we'll have all 32 teams there. We'll have numerous scouts from all those teams, and it'll be a big deal. And for someone like me, who's kind of more on the scouting and agent relations end of the scale as it pertains to the CGS, it is a busy time because we're kind of trying to build more of a profile with agents, with scouts. We're trying to, of course, as always, gain more credibility with them, to try to work with them and try to have them see us as a real resource and a place to go where they can, if they're an agent, to have their players go and get a chance to really fairly get their player evaluated and perhaps raise his status. And if they're a scout, go and see a quality game or a quality showcase with quality players. We have more players than any other All-Star game. So I think that's one reason why we've kind of carved out a landmark on the map, on the January map for NFL teams. And we also, as I shared with you kind of before we got on the phone, we are trying to craft a different place again on the map when it comes to football, rather than just being an all-star showcase where players can come and be evaluated. We're trying to build it into more of a business model where we can be seen as a resource for people who want to learn about football, who want to become members of the professional football community, who want to learn about scouting and evaluation. You might want to learn more about what an agent does and how their job works. So with all that said, we're a little ambitious, and we have a lot of balls in the air and a lot of things going on, but that's what makes life exciting, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about kind of like, what's a comparison? A street market or like a fair where it's not just centered around one thing, but there are other things there to do and that are of value. Because I know I was trying to get the day-to-day itinerary for myself and what I plan on doing while I'm down there. And Craig was asking me, he's just like, well, do you plan on attending the seminars? And I didn't know that there was going to be multiple. And he's like, well, we've got this one and this one and this one. I was like, wow, okay. So, I mean, I would like to be at one just to be at one. I don't know if the knowledge there that they're going to be dropping is going to be of much service to me, but just to see that whole interaction and that take place might be something worthwhile. And so we were talking about that. And of course, Jose and I have talked numerous times about how he's been so busy trying to get everything together and how he wants each year to be better than the last, and it sounds like everyone is definitely on the same page with that. So for you, the month of December, busy month, trying to get this, what's the hardest thing about going into the 5th year of something that seems to already have a working business model that you guys are trying to take sort of to the next level?
Well, the hardest thing is keeping it fresh. I mean, you have to be really careful. Once you create a template of getting too comfortable within that template and wanting to say, well, this worked last year, I'm sure it'll work again next year. The thing about the football industry is it is ever evolving. And I know that that's a bit of a cliche, but about every 3 years, you get a major innovation or a major desire by the players or a major way that agents are working or even scouts that changes everything. And if you don't keep up with that and if you don't continue to stay current and stay relevant and all those kind of things, then you'll die quickly, and you have to adapt. And so, last year was exciting because we had our first ever CGS scouting workshop presented by Inside the League, and I kind of headed that and brought together some friends from the business that came and spoke. We had Danton Bartow, who's now with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, which is kind of our rival. But Danton was with the Rams for, I think, 5 years, and excellent evaluator. He's coached in a number of places. Great guy, an incredible speaker, exciting, funny, and really, really candid. We had Bob Morris, who was with the 49ers and Browns, and he also talked about kind of the nuts and bolts of the game, and we had Rod Newhouse, who was with the Cardinals for a long time. And so those guys are really good. This year our challenge was to do even better, and I think we're on track to do that. This year we'll have Chris Hall, who is the coordinator of college scouting for the Cowboys, who's with the team right now. He's going to come in and kind of talk about his experience going from, a guy who went to SMU to a guy who's been with the Cowboys for, I think, more than 20 years and has the ear of Jerry Jones and is a central part of their front office and their scouting and evaluation and everything else. And he's going to talk about kind of the business and how it's evolved as he's worked in it, and a number of other topics that I think would be fascinating to anyone interested in the game, and especially anyone interested in the Cowboys. But we're also going to have Matt Manasharian. Matt's with Sports Info Solutions, and he's one of the leading voices on analytics, which is the fastest growing area of the scouting and evaluation part of the game. And we're really excited because Matt's company that he works with is helping us craft our rosters this year. So he's going to come in and talk about some of the guys that we're having and why they were chosen and what they like about them. And there are going to be some people players that your garden variety fan hasn't heard of, and maybe even schools that they came from that they haven't heard of. But Matt has a team of, I don't even know how many people that do nothing but watch games and track games and they have metrics for the way a quarterback is evaluated, or a defensive tackle, or a defensive back, or anything at all. And it really paints a picture of a player that you don't often see, especially if you're, kind of a traditional old guard football guy like myself. I'm really looking forward to that because it's going to be interesting to see how these players' games in college translate to the NFL game, even though it might not be completely evident by traditional scouting methods. And we've got a couple other speakers that we kind of not ready to announce the names yet, but we're excited about them, and we're hoping that they make it. And we know we'll have at least one and maybe a couple more. We're not really sure exactly how that's going to work, but it'll be a full day of football. And for anyone who's really interested in the game and kind of the game behind the game, and more than just a fantasy football kind of aficionado, then we're going to have a wonderful day for them and a lot of fun. Last year, our staff attended as well as some other people who had, had registered for it. And I don't think there's anyone who didn't come around to me during the week and say, man, I can't wait till next year because it's such an awesome event. So we're looking forward to it. It makes me kind of pull my hair out at times with the nuts and bolts and the organization and all those kind of things. But hey, again, that's part of it, and that's what makes it fun. And that's kind of how you make sure that you're relevant and things are still staying kind of fresh. When it's a little bit of trouble and it's not just too comfortable. You don't want to be too comfortable at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about getting out of your comfort zone is the only way that you can really grow and advance. And I know how that is. There's always stuff on my end of things that I'm trying to figure out, and I've never wanted to be a person that cashed in on a flash in the pan kind of trend or got, overnight internet famous. I wanted to find something that worked and was going to stick. And so that's, maybe that's my downfall. Maybe that's just me being a little bit more traditional and old school, but I want it to be real, I guess. And for you and the rest of the guys at CGS, it looks like you're onto something real. And now it's just about fine tuning it and making sure that every year you bring something new and attractive to the event. So for you being the relations between agents, scouts, and so forth, have you been both an agent or a scout? Like, where do you fall? Where does your history fall into the fold there?
That's a question I get a lot. I've never been an agent. I don't have the resources to be an agent, and having seen the difficulty and the challenge of that business, I mean, agents, I probably have more respect for the job that they do than anyone else in the game because it is incredibly challenging. The players don't always have a full understanding of what they face and the odds they face and what it's going to take to be an NFL player. And they're kind of the point of the spear as far as making that a reality for the players. And it takes tremendous patience. It takes tremendous knowledge of the game and just a human touch, for lack of a better word, that agents aren't given credit for. And it really frustrates me because agents are the bad guys, the laughing stock, whatever you want of the game. They really serve a much more important role than that, and they're really most often good guys who are coming because they want to help people. As far as being a scout, no, I've never been a scout, and again, I have incredible respect for them. We try to work. I don't want to say as a liaison for scouts. I mean, in my place as running inside the league, but we conduct a scouting survey for scouts to help them kind of know a little bit more about what other people are getting paid for the same amount of work. We try to track the industry and kind of who's getting hired and who's getting fired. And scouts are in an incredibly volatile position because the business is tough and it's undergoing a lot of changes and it's getting a lot younger. And teams, oddly enough, when they want to tighten the belt, they typically look to the scouting department first. And I'm not sure why that is, but it's true. And so they're facing a lot of pressure and a lot of difficulty and an incredibly tough job, being on the road all the time and yet always being on deadline at the same time and having to fit in driving and lack of sleep and working around team schedules and all those kinds of things. And it sounds like an incredibly glamorous job. It's really not. There is a lot of grinding. It's a really exhausting and exhaustive kind of profession. And so I have a lot of respect for both those guys. The closest I've been to being a scout was when I ran the 2008 Hula Bowl, which at the time was the number 3 game, and I did all my evaluation with the help of a lot of friends that I have in the industry. I would work with teams and maybe approach them and say, hey, look, I'm looking at this guy, this guy, this guy. Who do you want at defensive tackle? Who do you want at quarterback? Who do you want at kicker, for that matter? So that's as close as I've come to having a real evaluation role. I know how hard it is, and I can tell you also, Richard, there's a lot of players that I turned away or wanted to turn away from my game that wound up staying in the league for a lot longer than I'd like to admit. And that's another reason why I know that these guys have a tough job. It's an art and not a science, and you have to do the best you can and rely on your wits sometimes or rely on your instincts at times and be willing to go your own way, and that's not easy as well in an attack-driven profession like scouting can be. So the answer is no. I've never been either one, and I don't know that I'd have the guts or the stuff to be one. I'm really happy to be where I am. I've got enough challenges that I have to deal with what those guys face.
Well, you and I can tell, are going to have a lot to talk about down at the event regarding scouts and agents. But one thing that I wanted to get your personal opinion on is, of course, I think the scout, yes, probably the less glamorous of the job. A lot of traveling. You're kind of like a touring indie band. You have just enough budget to get you from stop to stop, and you're hoping to find that next big, that next big act or that next show that's going to put you over. But for the agent, though, all we know about agents, really, is either what we saw in Jerry Maguire or what we see in State Farm commercials with Aaron Rodgers. And I wanted to know, is it more of the role of the agent, is it a fight promoter or a used car salesman? Because I feel like, although similar, they are yet distinctly different. And I wanted to get your thoughts kind of on the outside looking in and dealing with these guys year round.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. The State Farm commercial is one that really digs at me because that is your right off the rack, stereotypical bad guy agent. Slimy, trying to perform a role that he really doesn't, do so well, lies, just like he breathes, all those kinds of things. When I compare an agent to a good, honest one, I would say he's the guy that is really taking the responsibility and bearing the burden to some degree for the players. I've been doing Inside the League for 16 years now. And when I started in 2002, the idea of training for the Combine and training for Pro Day was something that seemed like a cool idea, but no one really knew how to finance it, and no one really knew what to do or how to do it, and nobody knew what kind of shape that would take. In almost 2 decades, we're now seeing that as an entitlement, and it's very rare now when a player who really seriously considers an NFL career doesn't at least expect or hope for someone to pay for his training and to do that. And so you're talking about taking on a $10,000 to $20,000 commitment investment on every player that you sign at times. Now, we kind of coach our agent clients to spend a whole lot less than that and to set a budget and stick to it, but that's the difficulty. That's the financial commitments you have to make. That's setting aside, especially for the newer agents, whether or not an NFL team really has interest in the player that you like. I mean, it's watching a player on Saturdays and thinking, man, that guy's really good, is very different from an NFL team saying, he's good, but we also really want him. I mean, not only is he good on Saturdays, but he's a guy that we think will be good on Sundays. So there's a lot of shadow and mystery and, trying to figure out what you have and whether they are the player that you think they are. And meanwhile, you're taking a big risk on spending money. You really have to put your money where your mouth is. And all the while, you're also not just dealing with the player and dealing with NFL teams. You're also, when you sign a kid, you're signing their family. And the expectations have been mounting for 20 years. There are so many people in that circle around a player, his girlfriend, his buddies, his teammates, all those kinds of things. And they all want to see this young man succeed just like he does. And if you're an agent, very often you're the bearer of the fault when that doesn't happen. And it's usually not your fault, by the way. It's a very mercurial business. It's a very fickle business. And agents are the ones that are seen as the guys that are part of the Super Bowl and hanging out in the locker room and all this kind of thing. That's kind of the perception. That's not reality at all. There's a lot more to it and a lot of things to know and a lot of things to learn. And they have a tough job, and they've always got to be reinventing themselves to some degree because there are so many changes. So, I'm not even sure where I'm going with this, except to say that they do have a difficult job, and I admire them for it, and I respect what they do. And I don't know if I can pull it off. Certainly not successfully.
Yeah, it's something that there is a heavy-handed stereotype that goes around about them, and it seems to be only one perspective of the job. But I do know that as the world of sports has advanced and evolved, that their job has probably only gotten more difficult. So I do not envy that by any means. But the last question that I had for you, Neil, was one that I ask everybody that's been here on the show for these weekly College Gridiron Showcase mini-series that we're doing, and that is going into its fifth year now, less than 30 days away, and your time that you've spent around Craig, Jose, and just the event itself, was there a moment or was there anything in particular that has been done or being done at this event that sold you on the event that, yeah, this is a real thing, this is legitimate in what we are doing here to help players get a second chance and reach that next level?
That's an easy question. The thing about having run an all-star game, having run more than one, having seen the turnover of all-star games, it's very common for a game to pop up in October and be shuttered by January. Sometimes they don't even make it a game day. So when Craig and Jose approached me on this, I thought, that's great, guys. Y'all are nice guys. You're going to really, you've taken on one of the biggest and toughest jobs in all of football. I wish you well. And so I saw the first year how they did it. But more importantly, I saw the changes and how they adapted in year two. They took some real chances and they innovated and did things that most people would never do because they wanted to be safe and they wanted to not be laughed at, and they didn't want anyone to tell them no or be made to maybe be embarrassed. But Craig and Jose have always been willing to take that chance and try something new and maybe be told that you sucked or maybe be hung up on or whatever, which is the kind of things that we all go through when we try to break into this business. Very insolent. The fact that they're around 5 years later is a testament to both of them. And I always kid them and tell them that they've got really mental problems because you meet Jose and you meet Craig. There's never a time when they're angry or frustrated or exhausted. They never are short with you. They're never defensive. That's why, I wonder they were like made to be in this position because they have so many pressures on them and so many stresses on them and so many things that could go wrong and often do go wrong, and they're always smiling. They're always poised. They're always composed. And I can't say that for when I was running games. So I give them a lot of credit for that. And the fact, I think, that they think about this game in a way that they're trying to turn it into a different business model from all the others that are out there and how they've all been done, I think says a lot for both of them because they're thinking about things. They're trying new things. They're taking chances, and sometimes those chances blow up in your face, but sometimes they come through really well, and that's why 5 years later, they're still surviving and, in my estimation, thriving.
Yeah, I think that it is something that has gone, probably just a little overlooked, but clearly Jose is a man of the grind, and he has his go-to people that, are spreading the word, and he's making advances with this each and every year. You guys are trying to come up with ways to keep it fresh. So obviously it looks like he has surrounded himself with the right people and the right components, and I think that what you guys are doing is great, and I can't wait to be down there in Fort Worth January 5th through the 9th. I guess there is one more question that came up real quick, and this can just be a yes or no answer. Since it is bowl season, this is going to be an event that works with college seniors to prepare them for the draft, and then, of course, for the NFL, CFL, AAF. It's going to be that time where we start to hear a lot about promising players possibly holding out from bowl games. Do you like that idea of a player holding out from a bowl game, yes or no?
I'm old school. I believe that playing for a team is an honor, and having your teammates back is part of that is playing. And football is a risk, and I understand that. But I think it's a disturbing trend. And, again, maybe it's because I'm kind of from the old school and more traditional, but it really troubles me. And one thing that we've seen, and another All-Star game is seeing, is often a player will come in, he'll practice for 2 days, and then he'll leave. He won't stay for the entire All-Star week because he feels like he's got his work in. The thing that I think most players need to realize is they are usually needing to play more than needing to avoid injury risk, because it is such a fickle game. It's really hard to really meaningfully elevate your status in those 4 months leading up to the draft. You need to take advantage of every opportunity, especially when it comes to football. And yes, there are players that get hurt, and it does harm their draft status. I understand that. That's undeniable. But at the end of the day, there are a lot more players that will help themselves rise up the board because of what they did on the field, whether that be in an All-Star game, whether that be in bowl play. I just think it's always smart to play. After all, it is football, and you need to show teams that you like football, that you love football, that you're passionate about it, that you want to help your teammates. So many things you can show by just stepping on the field, stepping on the practice field, stepping on the game field, and playing. And so, yes, I would prefer they played. I see their point. I understand kind of where they're coming from, but I think it's better to go participate and be with your teammates at one last time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, too. And, of course, it's hard for me to speak, as a player because I wasn't one at the college level. But I do understand risk, injury, and how fickle this game is, which my hope is that, leagues like the AAF and even the XFL do well, not to compete with the NFL, but just to kind of give a landing spot for players that really, were dealt a unfortunate hand in looking for that second chance to get, paid to play the game and paid well. So I hope that those leagues do well. Now, I don't know if Le'Veon Bell was one who held out from a bowl game, but my point of bringing him up is that is seeing someone like Le'Veon Bell hold out having a negative impact on young players trying to get that level where we're going to see more and more holdouts of things along with the bowl games, and that's just going to make agent and scouts' jobs even more difficult.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's Le'Veon Bell as much as it's Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey last year, Joey Bosa this year. It is becoming a trend. It is becoming more commonplace. And, there are a lot of people in the media that really applaud them for leaving early. And so it's a lot easier to, in my estimation, kind of put yourself and your future ahead of your teammates and take one less risk and play one last time. And, it is, when people like Le'Veon Bell and Leonard Fournette choose to pass up an opportunity to play, it gets a lot of pub. It becomes accepted, and that's unfortunate. Again, I see both sides, and I recognize the risk that players take every time they set foot in the field. I really do. But it's disappointing to me because I think that in the long run, most players are hurting themselves when they pass up that last opportunity.
All right, well, Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. A lot of information, and I look forward to having more conversations with you at the event. But he is Neil Stratton of the College Gridiron Showcase, the agent in scout relations. So, Neil, don't lose too much sleep in the next month. Need you fresh down in Fort Worth. But, hey, thanks again for taking the time, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure, Richard. It's going to be a blast. You're going to have the time of your life, and everyone who comes down will too. Can't wait.
All right, looking forward to it. You take care.
All right, Richard. Thanks.
One more big thank you to Neil Stratton, co-founder of Inside the League, but he is the agent and scout relations for the College Gridiron Showcase. We look forward to seeing and interacting with him for the week down in Fort Worth. 29 days away. There's still a chance for you to get in on this event if you are a free agent looking to just, it's one of those things. You've got the finals coming up. You have studied, you have crammed, you have done all the assignments, all the extra credit. So what's wrong with doing one more round of going over the study guide? You filled in the answers, you feel like you have it memorized, but one more round. That's what the showcase can be for you as a free agent. Just one more, to get in there, get some work done, get some content, get some audio, video. I'll be there doing all of that under the Fan Show banner and shield. So we will see you in Fort Worth, Texas, 29 days from now. Mark your calendars. Get ready. Get set. Let's go. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week for part 5 of our weekly College Gridiron Showcase special mini-series right here on the Fan Show.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.